Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we are reacting to 3 creepy real stories with photos and video footage from the one and only Mr. Nightmare. Let's get into it.
Mark was a college student living in Indiana. His house was quiet and sat next to some woods. During the day, everything felt normal, but at night, the woods made the place feel strange. Behind his house, under the patio, there was a hot tub. That's where everything happened. It was Saturday night, March 29th, around 12:30 a.m. Spring break was ending and school was starting again soon. Mark had his 3 close friends over, Kyle, Keenan, and Derek. They were spending one last night hanging out. They were in the garage playing pool, blasting music, and drinking. Everyone was laughing and having fun. It felt like a good night. After a while, Kyle said they should go in the hot tub. It was cold outside, so the warm water sounded even better. Everyone agreed. They got changed into swim trunks, grabbed their drinks, and went into the hot tub. The warm water felt good as they talked, made jokes, and didn't pay attention to the time. Then they heard something. It was the sound of sticks breaking, like footsteps coming from the woods. It didn't sound like an animal, it sounded like a person. They all went quiet and looked around. Keenan tried to calm everyone down and said it was probably nothing. The others laughed, but it was more to stop feeling nervous. They turned the music up louder and tried to keep talking. About 10 minutes later, a man walked out of the woods. He stepped into the light from the patio. He was wearing a long black coat, white sweatpants, and a gaming headset. His eyes were wide, and his face didn't show any feeling. Everyone jumped. They yelled at him and asked who he was and what he was doing. The man raised his hands and said his name was Seth. He said he was 33 years old, and he heard them laughing and wanted to join. The guys just looked at each other, confused. Mark told him to leave, but he didn't listen. Instead, Seth took off his coat, then his shoes, and then his pants. He was now in only his underwear.
This is actually
Then he got into the hot tub. No one knew what to say. Mark pulled out his phone and started recording, not for fun, but because the whole thing felt unreal. This was the footage he captured.
Wait, I saw the drink right there. What was over here?
They started asking Seth questions, like where he came from and if he knew anyone there. He just kept saying he heard them laughing and wanted to hang out. Then he said something really disturbing. He said he had molested a child. That changed everything.
Okay, yeah, at first I was like, the dude's probably really lonely, and he probably just legit wanted to join y'all. Because he looks very, he doesn't look intimidating here. You know what I'm saying? He got in the tub, he's like talking to them and shit. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, but it didn't seem like a threat. However, um, when he talks about that, that's what I want. That's when I would have been like, okay, buddy, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Nah, nope, we don't like that. Nope, I'm gonna go rent a wood chipper for your ass. Leave.
Obviously. The guys jumped out of the hot tub and started yelling at him to leave. They pulled him out of the water. Seth didn't try to stop them. He just stood there, dripping wet and staring. Then he slowly walked back into the woods without saying anything.
Because even if you're drunk or high, saying you a child, um, that's not something you would say because you're drunk or high. That's just not one of the things that comes up, because people say some wild shit when they're drunk or high. It's the same thing with like the N-word. I don't believe you that shit just came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? there's certain things that if you say it when you're drunk or high, it's not really an excuse. However, there's a lot of crazy shit that you can say drunk or high, and this is not one of them.
The group ran inside and locked all the doors. Some of them laughed nervously, trying to shake it off.
I'd have grabbed my fucking gun, bro. You told me you did that to a kid. I'm already on edge. I don't like you at all. I don't like you at all. And I believe you, because why would you lie about something like that? That's not something anybody would want to lie about. Yeah, no.
But Mark and Kyle didn't feel okay. They felt like it wasn't over. About 15 minutes passed. Kyle said they should go back out to lock the hot.
Hell no, y'all need to call the cops on his weird ass. He just said that shit. Hell no. He's obviously, no, hell no. You told the cops this random motherfucker right here came up, got in the hot tub with us. We told him no. He just creepily entered the hot tub, and then he admitted that the cops probably couldn't charge him with anything, but at least they could investigate his weird ass.
Mark said okay. So they got flashlights and stepped outside. That's when Mark saw something next to the hot tub. It was a phone. He picked it up and saw the screen light up. Whatever was on the lock screen made him drop the phone. He didn't say what it was, but it scared him. He said he thought Seth would come back, so they ran inside and told the others. Everyone tried to stay calm.
Call the cops.
Then they heard a tapping sound on the window. Mark already knew who it was. He opened the curtain, and wouldn't you know it, Seth was standing right there. His face was pale, his eyes were wide open, and he had a creepy smile. He didn't say anything, he didn't move, he just stared. Mark yelled for Kyle. Kyle ran in and called the police. Mark grabbed a bat and went to the front door.
I'll take your weird ass on somewhere. I didn't mean to blind y'all, sorry.
He yelled for Seth to leave and take his phone. Seth didn't answer.
That would have been Seth, though. Fucking
Instead, he slowly walked around the side of the house.
blind the shit out of you.
Mark followed a little bit and looked through the patio window. Seth was standing there again, staring inside. Mark told him the cops were coming and that he needed to leave, but Seth didn't move. He just slowly raised his hand.
No, don't tell him that. Don't tell him you call the cops. Let the cops sneak up on his weird ass.
And waved once. Then he turned and walked back into the woods. The police arrived a few minutes later. The guys told them everything. The officers searched the woods and found Seth standing alone, just looking toward the house. They arrested him for trespassing, and everyone thought it was over. But Mark didn't feel that way. A few days later, he saw a post on Snapchat from a girl who lived nearby. It was a video. It showed another man, not Seth, trying to break into her house late at night. That's what bothered Mark the most. It meant Seth might not be the only one out there. There could be more. They could be connected, and they might not be done.
The hell? I don't understand that. I don't think there's a group of weird ass maths just randomly in the woods trying to break in people's houses. I think Seth was just a fucking meth head and a weirdo. Yeah, I don't like Seth.
A few years ago, 3 high school friends named Beck, Matthew, and Tyler decided to explore a sewer tunnel in their neighborhood.
Beck, Matthew, and Tyler. Sounds about Caucasian.
It was winter and very cold outside. The tunnel was at the edge of their neighborhood, under a small creek next to some office buildings. These buildings were empty and dark at night. The boys had seen the tunnel before, but never went inside of it. It always looked creepy, and they joked about it, but deep down they were curious. That night, they finally decided to go in. They brought sleds with them, thinking it would help if someone asked what they were doing. They knew they weren't allowed to be there, but they wanted to do something exciting. Just as they pulled into the parking lot, a police car showed up. A police officer got out and asked what they were doing there. Someone had apparently seen them on the security camera. Tyler quickly said that they were just going sledding. The officer looked at them for a moment, then told them to leave. So they left, but only for a little while. After driving around for about 30 minutes, they came back. This time, they parked farther away, behind a building where no one could see them. They walked down a hill behind the buildings. They could see their breath in the cold, crisp air. They stood in front of the tunnel, noting how big, round, and completely dark inside it was. They turned on their flashlights and walked in.
Turn off your light, everybody. Yeah. Dude, this is. Oh, look at the date, dude. Oh,
6/19/19.
19. Oh my god, this is dead.
I know they don't think 2019 was that long ago. Don't make me feel old. 2019 was just around the corner. That was a couple of years ago, man. Don't say that shit. Wow, 19. Making me feel old. What the fuck?
Dude, how did we even find this?
I understand they're high schoolers or something, so 2019 they were probably like real young teenagers or some shit, but that wasn't long ago.
Oh my gosh.
Inside the tunnel, the ground was dry. It was quiet, except for the sound of water dripping deeper in. The walls had graffiti all over them. Most of it looked old.
I don't like that. That kind of freaks me out. Just you're in a weird, eerie place and you can just hear like a faucet just. I don't like that at all.
But one thing caught their eye. A date was spray painted in large red numbers. 6/19/19. The paint looked newer than the rest, like it was done recently. That made them feel uneasy. Their flashlights weren't very strong and didn't shine very far. Still, they kept walking and acting tough, but deep down they were nervous. The farther they went, the colder it got. The temperature was dropping fast. Even though they were underground, they could still see their breath. The walls looked like they had ice on them. Big icicles hung down from the ceiling. Some were huge and sharp.
That boy got some big ass boots on. Look at that. Look at them boots. That's how you know it's cold as a bitch. Them thick ass boots.
Keep it slow, keep it slow.
Oh, I see a light down there, see that?
I think I saw movement. Wait. What's that? Hello?
Y'all teenagers do some dumb ass shit. If you're a teenager watching this, don't do this. Don't do this.
Should we keep going?
Should we keep going?
And if you do, go with an adult that's carrying a firearm. Because you never want to go in places like this without protection.
Bro. Dude, and these icicles can like impale you, dude. Look how
That was loud as hell.
Suddenly, a loud cracking sound echoing from further down the tunnel sends the group fleeing in fear. The sound resembled something heavy hitting stone. It wasn't any of them. The sound came from deeper inside the tunnel, too far to see. They tripped, slid, and bumped into each other as they rushed to get out. When they got outside, they were shaking and breathing hard. That's when Beck noticed his phone was missing. He had dropped it while they were running. Tyler and Matthew told him to forget about it. They didn't want to go back in, but Beck didn't listen. He grabbed his flashlight and started walking toward the tunnel again. The others followed, but they didn't want to. The tunnel felt different this time. It felt even darker. The air felt heavy and strange, like something was wrong. Their flashlights didn't work as well, and the silence was even worse than before. It felt like something was watching them.
I feel like my pocket got like a little emptier over here. Like somewhere over here. You have to go over here this way.
No, dude, that's where we fucking heard the noise.
Shit, dude. Do I have to go back there?
You're going first, bro.
I know, yeah, we're not.
Hold on, bro. You got on winter boots with Adidas track pants. I got them same track pants. Those pants are not warm. Man. What? That's some backwards ass shit. You got some cold ass legs, but your feet are warm. What the hell?
No, it's your food.
I love Adidas track pants, so they're comfortable as hell. Also, when I'm fishing on kayaks and shit, they got the zip up pockets so your shit doesn't fall out.
At some point off camera, Beck found his phone. Afterwards, the group continued deeper into the tunnel investigating.
Where's the phone
That's
at?
when they heard a sound.
It must have hit like here or something.
What was it? Do you remember?
Oh, hell no.
A loud scream came from
Hell
deeper in the
no.
tunnel. It didn't sound like a person. It didn't sound like an animal either.
That was a
It
person.
was something else. It was low and high at the same time, like more than one voice screaming together. It echoed off the walls and felt like it was getting closer. They didn't wait. They
It just sounded like a meth head to me.
turned and ran as fast as they could. This time, no one talked, no one looked back. They just ran. They got to the car, jumped in, and drove away without stopping. The car ride back was mostly silent. The three friends thought it was over when they all got home. They were ready to move on with their lives. But late that night, Beck's doorbell rang twice. This was at some off hour in the night. When Beck's dad went to answer the door, nobody was there. This, of course, begs the question,
Why the fuck are you answering the door in the middle of the night? I'm not even opening my door to a cop in the middle of the night. Because people impersonate cops at night to rob people and shit. You can't trust nobody at night.
the boys followed home that night, or was it simply a very unfortunately timed ding-dong ditch? That remains a mystery. The night left more questions than answers for the three friends, but they all heard the noises and of course got it on video. Perhaps it was something they weren't meant to stumble upon. In April of 2022, a man named Connor took a construction job far from home as part of a 3-month accommodation program. The pay was decent, and he needed every dollar. He wasn't in the best place financially, and the bonus
I feel you, bro. I feel you.
of working alongside his longtime friend Jim made the opportunity more appealing. They figured it would be a nice change of pace. Extra cash, time away from home, and some peace from the chaos of everyday life. The job itself wasn't bad. A few weeks in, Ryan had adjusted well to the routine, but the area they were stationed in was remote, deep in rural countryside. There were long, winding roads with barely any signs of life. It wasn't unusual to go miles without seeing a single home. Ryan had always loved the outdoors, and he saw this isolation as a chance to unplug. Most of his coworkers blew their weekends drinking, but Ryan had different plans. He wanted solitude. He wanted quiet. So when Friday rolled around, he packed his gear and prepared for a weekend of hiking and camping deep within the woods.
No fishing? Come on, dog.
Narrow trailhead just 5 minutes from his temporary accommodation became his entry point. Within 20 minutes, he was deep in the forest. The only sound was the wind and the crunch of his boots. He smoked a couple joints as he made his way further in, letting the stress just melt away. The isolation was comforting for him. Well, at first. Around 7 p.m., the sun began to sink behind the treetops. Shadows stretched long across the trail. Ryan knew it was time to find a place to settle. That's when he noticed something unusual. There was a scent in the air, burning firewood, and a light layer of smoke drifted between the trees. At first, it seemed normal, maybe another camper, maybe a local. But then, he caught something just barely in the corner of his vision. The faint orange glow of fire flickering through the trees. Curious and confident, Ryan left the trail and headed towards the source. He wasn't scared. He'd trained in combat sports during his teens and stayed in good shape. Still, something about this felt off to him. As he moved closer, he began to see strange metallic glints, shopping carts, dozens of them. They were tied to trees with rope hanging for the branches. Some mangled and suspended in bizarre positions, like a twisted jungle gym of rusted steel. It didn't look like a campsite. It looked like a ritual site, like something meant to be seen and feared.
Hell no.
Ryan pulled out his phone and started snapping photos. He had to prove this to his friends someday because no one would believe it otherwise. Then, something even stranger caught his eye. Hung directly above the fire was a charred, old-fashioned duck ornament. Sitting in the duck's back was a scorched baby doll. The thing was melted, its limbs warped from heat. Ryan took a photo of that too, but the longer he stared, the more disturbed he felt. His chest began to tighten. The fire was roaring, clearly tended to recently. There were water bottles scattered around. Someone had been there, or currently was there, maybe still watching. He thought about turning around, thought about heading straight back to the trailhead, but something made him keep walking. He tried to convince himself it was nothing, just some weird loner, maybe drunk, probably harmless. Still, he checked over his shoulder more than once.
That's weird though to have all these carts strung up and shit. That's that's kind of weird. Why would you have all these carts strung up? I know some homeless people will use a cart as like a grill, which is probably not very good for you. Or maybe steal a cart to store some stuff in. But this shit is like some Mad Max shit. This is weird.
20 minutes passed, and he'd put real distance between himself and that eerie camp. But daylight was fading fast, and he needed firewood before it got too dark. He veered off the trail again, this time to gather supplies. He wasn't worried. He had emergency wood in his pack, but not enough to last the entire night. He needed more. After about an hour of preparation, Ryan had set up his tent and built a small fire. It was around 9 p.m. when he prepped a steak and potato meal in foil and nestled it in the glowing embers. He smoked another joint to dull the anxiety, and for a while, everything seemed...
Weed solves this guy's anxiety, bro. Weed gives me anxiety. I can't smoke. Every time I smoke, I have a panic attack like a bitch. Y'all are lucky that can smoke weed and it calms you. I'm the opposite.
seemed okay again. With his meal finished and the fire crackling, Ryan settled in for the night. He turned on a pre-downloaded playlist of true crime podcasts, listening to cold case files as the forest around him darkened. There was no signal out there, no distractions, just firelight and static-filled voices recounting unsolved murders.
So if I'm in the woods, I'm at least bringing my pistol with the flashlight attached to it. Or I'll bring my AR. If I'm in like woods where there could possibly be a bear or something, definitely I'll bring my rifle. 'Cause I'm paranoid. I'm not like extremely paranoid, like looking around off my shoulders and shit. I'm more prepared, kind of thing. See, at least bring a pistol with you. At least. Yeah. Because a fire is kind of a telltale sign that you're there. And fires attract animals and people. So, at least bring some kind of protection.
At some point, he drifted off to sleep, but it didn't last. He woke up suddenly. The air inside his tent felt colder. The fire outside had dimmed. He checked his phone. 4 a.m. He didn't know what had woken him up until he heard it. Whistling.
Hell no.
A slow, eerie tune carried through the trees surrounding his camp. He froze. His body wouldn't move. It was like something inside him had shut down. He lay motionless, listening as the sound crept closer. Then the whistling stopped. What followed was worse. Soft footsteps, fast, light, and quiet, circling his tent. He couldn't see them, but he could hear them crunching twigs and shifting leaves. His heart pounded in his throat. Then, without thinking, his body finally snapped into motion. He jumped up, threw on his boots, and burst out of the tent. What made it worse, what twisted the fear into something primal, was that the footsteps had come from the direction he had entered the trail. The way back to safety was now blocked. He had no choice but to run deeper into the forest. He sprinted as fast as he could, crashing through brush and low branches. But behind him, he could hear more footsteps.
Y'all getting motherfucking shot. Y'all follow me. I'm shooting. I don't give a fuck who you are. State your business or get shot. No, bitch. I don't like being followed. Nope. Mm-mm. I got 15 rounds for you. Mm-mm. Nope. Oh, I got a family. Shouldn't have been following me. Should have stated your business.
Multiple, and they weren't in sync. The sounds overlapped, too fast and scattered to just be one person. There were two of them, maybe more. For 5 straight minutes, he ran until his lungs burned and his legs begged for rest. He found a dense cluster of trees and dove into the underbrush, burying himself in leaves and tangled roots. He didn't move. He barely breathed. The footsteps faded, distant now, but he didn't dare come out. He waited, still and silent in the dark. Eventually, he knew he had to move. He crawled through the forest with branches cutting into his arms and legs. Every step was slow and careful. When the trees finally began to thin, he broke into one final sprint. He recognized the trailhead, the way out, and he ran without stopping. No one followed him after that. The forest was quiet, but the damage was done. He got back to his accommodation and immediately reported the incident to the police. They took his statement and promised to investigate, but he never heard anything back. To this day, Ryan believes the people who chased him were the same ones who built that bizarre shrine of carts and dolls.
Yeah, I would have caught a couple bodies that night. Don't fucking, hell no. One day, they're gonna run into the wrong one. Okay? Because if you're walking up on me at night and I'm in a tent or some shit, I'm going to shoot. Okay? You know why? Because it's fucking nighttime and I'm in a little tent. You can get my ass easily. Someone in a tent, you can easily. So I'm feeling a little threatened. Especially if I start running and I hear you behind me, bitch. Not today. Not today. No. Hell no. You gonna be put on a t-shirt.
What they were doing out there and what they wanted, he doesn't know. But it was more than just a creepy encounter. To him, it felt ritualistic, cult-like. He finished his contract and returned home, but the memory never left him. He still remembers the sound of the footsteps, the whistling, and the feeling of helplessness. If there's anything to learn from this story, it would be to trust your instincts. If you find something that doesn't feel right, you should leave. Ryan almost didn't, and he knows he might not have lived to tell the story if he had stayed. This video was me experimenting with a slightly different style. If any of you have personal scary experiences that include photos or videos and you'd like to submit them, email them to me and I'll try to make this style of video a new series. Also, if you haven't already, click the bell icon and turn on all notifications because apparently only 15% of you have done so, and that would really help out the channel.
I don't like YouTube spamming me, so I don't have notifications on. I technically do, but I don't. This was good. I like this. The photos and the videos included. I like it. I like that. I think it's a good format. Plus it adds it adds a level of authenticity to it. So that's cool. Even just the story videos are good, but this one was good. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will see you all next time. Y'all be good. Stay safe. I'm out.